made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 106 of Chiro Hustle. I'm Luke. Here's Jim.
So today we had a chance to interview Dr. Jeremy Brook, and he talked to us about what makes him unique as the spinal checker. Stay tuned. Dr. Jeremy, tell me your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor.
How much time do we have?
We have about 45 minutes.
But then I'll give you the teaser trailer version because pretty much my whole chiropractic story is intertwined with my life story. But I was exposed to chiropractic when I was 8 years old. We would go to the chiropractor with the whole family, my sister, mom, and dad. My dad was like a huge chiropractic fan. He injured his neck a couple years after I was born, and a chiropractor sorted him out. So we moved from New York to Los Angeles. We go to this one chiropractor in Beverly Hills, Dr. Paul Weber, and he was awesome. He was a motion palpation chiropractor. He'd sit you on that little motion palpation stool, motion palpate the spine, laterally flex it, rotate it, extend it, flex it, and then he would find, where we were subluxated, and then he would deliver just a kind of like a martial arts style adjustment. He would even like ki when he thrusted, and I just fell in love with it. I thought that chiropractic was so cool. Dr. Weber, the way he presented himself, made such an impression on me that as a third grader, I wanted to become a chiropractor. And I didn't even have any problems. I didn't have like the classical childhood issues that chiropractors sort out, like the asthma or the allergies or the whatever. We just went for straight up spinal wellness, neurospinal wellness. But I didn't really experience the true power of a chiropractic adjustment until I was in college, 21 years old, playing rugby at UC Irvine. I was still there just to get my pre-chiropractic, prereqs handled. I was a biology major, but a violent collision just smashed my skull, broke my nose, and then on a continuation of the play, I ended up busting up my shoulder and neck, and then just to make this story even shorter, ended up going back to Dr. Weber. He hooked me up, and pretty much I was in pain for about 2 years at that point, and just gave me back my strength and my power. So that was like a course corrector. I was still on the chiropractic trajectory, but it kind of shifted my relationship to chiropractic. So during the period that I was injured from playing rugby, I discovered yoga. And this is going back in like the mid-1990s. It wasn't like yoga how we do it or how we know it today. It was a real slow, chill yoga class. Fell in love with it. 2 years later, I'm off into chiropractic school. And that's really where I kind of married the chiropractic plus yoga experience into one. And that's how I still practice professionally almost 20 years later. So that's the Chiro story in a nutshell.
Super, super cool story, man. So let's pivot a little bit. What was your position in rugby?
Oh, yeah. I started out as outside center, and then after my first year, I moved over to scrum half and absolutely loved it. So played scrum half for 2 years.
Yeah, that's cool, man. A lot of the people that actually Fred Schofield influenced me into the chiropractic world. And I started out by doing a small documentary on Palmer College chiropractic rugby team.
Nice.
And I still don't know how you guys score.
You just got to touch it down. Just got.
But yeah, it's cool to hear that you're so integrated with rugby and yoga and chiropractic. I think that those are amazing, great gateways into understanding the dynamics of team, understanding the dynamics of movement, and understanding the dynamics of human potential.
Amen.
So you seem to have a lot of things going on here. Tell us about some of these books you've written and this online training course that you have going on.
Oh, cool. I've only written one book, and that's volume 1. I do have a library of unpublished articles and essays that might be around for volume 2, but the book I wrote, The Spine Checkers Manifesto, volume 1, wrote that in 2009, and originally it was just a book that I could give the people that I adjust something to take home to enhance their understanding of what chiropractic is, what we're doing in the office, and ultimately just give them a resource, something that they could lean on to ultimately help them be dependent on being independent. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you understand what the chiropractic philosophy is, you're free. You're not like a prisoner to pain and sickness and symptoms. So that was the purpose of the book. It really just takes you on a journey from the biomechanics to the neurology to physiology to higher superconscious states of being, and it has some of the easy, basic, fundamental movement sequences. So after I've adjusted a person, they know how to move their body to make sure that they've lubricated the joints, they have a new set point for what posture is, and of course, again, they can just take their body through an easy, full range of motion. And then last year, we created something called the Wise Progressions, which is an online program, and it's just a more expanded movement sequence going straight from the occiput all the way down to the pelvis, and then we call them the gateways to the spine, the shoulders and hips. In a progressive manner, I just took a look at the shape and configuration of every single joint in the body, and I said, let's move it this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, this way, in various different positions. So, you have options for doing, again, the quick little 7-minute version, or you can roll out the whole package, and now you're sitting on your mat for a good solid hour and a half if you want to do the whole blown out program.
So do you have to be familiar with yoga to take this program, or is this designed for anyone to just jump in?
Yeah, and there's I wanted to make it user-friendly for anyone and everyone, because some people, they hear the word yoga and they're already going, I'm a hard pass, no thank you. And, similar to chiropractic, you tell people what you do, and some people might be like, man, I love you guys. And other people would be like, stay 5 feet away from me. So I call it the Wise Progressions, and that's the English translation for something called Vinyasa Krama, which is it's a specific set of poses and postures and movements in like a prescribed manner. So it's just kind of an old school classic approach to how they used to distribute the yoga poses to each person in a customized manner. So I call it the Wise Progressions. It's a spin-off on that, but it's user-friendly for anybody who just wants to learn how to move. You don't have to know how to speak or read Sanskrit or be from the Indian subcontinent. You can just be somebody who's like, man, I just want to move my body.
Yeah, I think this is really cool because I'm one of those people that you say yoga and I'm a hard no. But I don't know, something like this, I think I could get into this.
Yeah, hey, I was a hard no until I got smashed playing rugby, and then I couldn't lift my arm, I couldn't box, I couldn't bench, I couldn't move, and it was like, what do? You're at the gym on a treadmill or a bicycle, and then you see a bunch of kind of like cool hip people. Again, this is back in the 90s, mid 90s, and I'm like, what are they doing? They got a mat. I'm gonna go follow them. And it was just by, I guess it's like one of those, listening to those inner voices inside of you that says go that direction. Next thing you know, I'm in the back of a yoga class. There's a guy playing the flute in the corner. Cobras coming out of a friggin' pot. It was like, oh, like, what's going on here? I could barely touch my knees. I was so tight. And next thing you know, now you're balancing on your head for 10 minutes and chanting Om. So never thought that would be me. I'm like that person in the family. Like, really? He's the yogi of the family. There's got to be one.
Well, I think Luke's getting it from through me from osmosis, because every time we're in a hotel room, he's probably sleeping, and I'm sitting there doing my yoga at the foot of the beds.
That's right. He's feeling your vibrations one way or the other.
Like every time I wake up, he's in a different pose.
That's good. He's advancing.
Yeah, I got this little app on my phone that I follow, and it just lets me plug in like what practice I want to do, and
cool.
I just listen to it, and I just follow the directions that somebody else tells me to do. And really, like, I used to love going to a class and taking like the traditional style, like having a leader at the front of the room type class.
Yeah.
And then I just realized that if I could just drop the barrier of entry to doing it at my home and having an instructor with me, I would stick to it. But, when I first started thinking about it, I'm like, dude, the reason I like to go to yoga is because it like detaches me from technology. And now I'm attached more to technology because I'm doing it through the technology. So I had to accept one for the other.
Yeah, and personally, like when I'm at home and I'm doing my own yoga practice, talk about detaching from technology. Depending on what type of practice I'm doing, I'm wearing my Bose, headphones. I'm listening to some binaural beats on a gamma wave, brain wave, channel, and then I have my mask on so that way I'm not distracted by the periphery, or I might have my infrared light on too, and then I take my mask off, so now I'm just getting blasted. But I still have the beats on, my head, but it's nice to go to a yoga class. You can't reach for your iPhone after 16 minutes and check what happened on Instagram.
Yeah, you said some funny stuff there, because a lot of times I'll try to do my full practice with my eyes closed, and it's the part where you realize that you're human is when you fall over.
That does happen with the eyes closed.
So tell us some of your favorite motivational quotes and mantras that keep you fired up about what you're doing.
Okay, well, since we're on the yoga train, Om. I like chanting Om, and then again, that's also like with the binaural beats on, with the mask on, sitting in meditation and Oming for 15 minutes. I like Henry David Thoreau, dwell as close to the channel through which your life flows. I like Dr. Fred. I trained with Dr. Fred in the early days, and I still consider him one of my teachers. Do it now. Period. Actually, exclamation point. Do it now. How about Zach De La Rocha? Know your enemy. That keeps me a little bit on point, because we know about all those forces that are against people expressing their 100% potential, because they like us when we're sick and dumb. And how about there's a universal intelligence that exists in all matter that continually gives to it all of its actions and properties, thus maintaining it in existence. That one keeps me on point. And actually, last year had a experience where that one rang true, where I actually had like an experience of what the big idea, the number one, the major premise was all about. And then intention is paramount. Arno Burnier, who I did speak to him about an hour ago, and he sends his love to you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. I can keep going, but those would probably be a good starting point.
So, how do you think chiropractic might change if all patients and practice members did yoga or went through your Wise Progression program?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game changer because, like, it's like the Matrix. Once you've been unplugged, or you've taken, I don't know which was the correct pill, the red pill or the green pill, where now you can actually see life with a different set of eyes. There's no going back. So
That's the red
most
pill.
people, the red pill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, most people they're struggling, they're suffering, and they spend so much time and energy and resources just to get out of that funky state, just to get to the normal state. And then they think that's the game that they should be living at. So when they come through my office and my center, my space, and we establish that that's a level that you shouldn't even be thinking about. And even the normal level is like the ground floor level. So we want to take people up to a higher level of health, vibrancy, expression, movement. So now we have people understanding the way that they move, the way that they think, the way that they act, how those different activities will create different levels of stress in their body or tension in their body. And now we could have a conversation of adaptation. Now we're talking about epigenetics and neuroplasticity. So the way that I look at it is, once they kind of get exposed to chiropractic, now they recognize that their body is, what they look at as supercharged, that's the normal state.
Well, would you say that people who do yoga are easier to adjust, or do they hold adjustments in the body longer than other people?
It depends, like, just because they do yoga doesn't necessarily mean like they're the perfect chiropractic candidate. In fact, sometimes yogis tend to think that the yoga practice handles and corrects everything. They think that the yoga practice corrects their subluxations. They don't need it. So there's different types of yogis, just as there would be a different types of people who do CrossFit or spinning class. And I look at the yogis somewhat differently, in the sense that they have a different consciousness if they're a yogi versus, oh yeah, I do yoga as like part of my exercise. So there's different groups of yoga. Like, are you a traditionalist yogi? Like you have a yoga practice, you have a certain dietary practice as well, or is it just like Monday I do yoga, Tuesdays I do core training, Thursdays I do spinning? So it depends. There's different body types. You've got earth types, you've got water types, you've got fire types, you've got wind types, as different body type constitutions for Homo sapiens. So yogis, when they come in, it depends. They could have like tight connective tissue and they're just a tight dude or dudette to adjust, or they can be like the super loosey-goosey connective tissue person who could put their feet behind their neck in a pretzel, and then you just deal with that type of person. So I would say I can't necessarily group them into one category. They're all going to have subluxations at the end of the day, and they all get adjusted pretty much according to their state of openness.
You said some really cool stuff there. And how about this? We'll get Luke your program, and I'll buy him a mat.
Boom. Deal.
And
it's a great program.
And
allows for freestyle.
And when I worked at an office in Arlington Heights, I was very involved with my yoga community there. We had a studio just on the strip mall next to us. And a lot of them would convert over and become patients at our clinic. And I would be involved with their X-ray analysis, and I would look at the X-rays, and I'd study the films with the doc. And some of the people that did yoga, like you were mentioning, dude, their spines are jacked up just like the person that was in a car crash. And they think that they're just like fine, and they're just like hippy dippy skipping along. And the whole time I'm like, dude, you have a freaking kyphosis in your cervical spine. Like, I think that takes 15 years off of your yoga life, bro. And you know, some of the people that are the most flexible, they don't realize how they still have spinal degeneration and decay, and that they have thinning of discs, and that just because that you're the most flexible guy or gal in the room doesn't mean that you have absolute chiropractic health.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, we actually do anatomy labs specifically for yoga teachers, and one of my other side gigs is I teach anatomy at yoga teacher trainings, and we clean up a whole lot of stuff just because they think that, well, number one, a lot of the yoga teachers just don't have a background in anatomy. They might be taught how to do the asana, but the way that they even get into the asana, you know, they're nutating their sacrum when they should be counter-nutating their sacrum. They should be rotating their pelvis forward when they should be, you know, they're doing all kinds of weird stuff. So I actually get to come in and say, hey, when you're doing this pose, you're actually doing an instruction designed to protect injury from this pose. It shouldn't be like the dominant instruction. It should be more of a tertiary or secondary instruction, so that they're going into poses doing forward bends when they should be doing back bends. So we clean it up. And yeah, I do find that yogis run into, you know, their spines aren't fantastic, but as far as like assigning a specific group, yogis, are they the worst or are they the best? I mean, you got some great looking spines in CrossFit, you got great looking spines in yoga, you got some rough looking spines in yoga, and you got some rough looking spines in CrossFit. But it's the user, you know, too. It's how the person is moving on their yoga mat or at the gym or on a bicycle. So the pose could be medicine, if you will. It could be good for the body, or it could be poison.
Yeah, and it's like the old saying is, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And it could be that you do the yoga right, but you do everything else incongruent. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of us try to blanket statement ourselves with is, yeah, I do CrossFit, but yeah, I eat like crap. I do yoga, but yeah, I drink 5 days a week, you know. And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that one component of doing a spinning class doesn't patch you up for those 5 nights that you're out at the bar. And I think that a lot of times people think that if they have a buff exterior, that means that they're not decayed in the core. And I think so many times that people are decayed in the core, they don't realize that they can turn it around too, and that they can start getting healthy, and that it's never too late to start practicing good habits and good tactics for, you know, positive lifestyle choices. I think a lot of times people, I'll say it 1,000 times, and again, that most people just don't know where to go or who to trust for their resources. And, you know, talking to you, I mean, I just want to throw a quick joke out there. If I had a spirit animal, it'd be Jeremy Brook.
Yes. Hopefully it looks like a jaguar.
Nah, man, it looks just like you.
Just like you. That's good. I'll take it.
And I just love, you know, I actually resonate with you on a high frequency just because of your level of depth with understanding chiropractic and your level of depth with understanding yoga. And those are two of my wheelhouse things. But I'm that guy I'm explaining, man. I'm the guy that was living incongruent while doing a practice. I was the guy that was living incongruent while getting buff lifting weights. I was the guy that was living incongruent while studying what chiropractic was and what it is. And now I'm finally coming full circle at like 40 years old to realize that we can still make ourselves into better versions of ourselves if we just stay disciplined and consistent.
Slipping and checking.
I mean, that's old school philosophy. Explain that to the people that are listening.
Explain that slipping and checking component?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the self-analysis. It's the self-study. It also is a give yourself some wiggle room to make mistakes. But then when you make mistakes, clean it up, correct it, do your best not to do it again. It's like injury mitigation. It's slip-up mitigation. And you keep checking yourself and you check yourself until, you know, the range that, or the spectrum in which that you're goofing off in, you're making all of these mistakes, whether it's communication, maybe it's with other people, or maybe it's to yourself, that it just starts narrowing and narrowing and narrowing until you're as clean of a person as possible. But it also allows for the wiggle room, like, dang, I messed up, I'm checked, I just checkmated myself, and carry on.
And that's old school philosophy of know thyself.
Know thyself. I mean, what is that, 5,000-year-old philosophy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can go to be here now.
Right. Ram Dass.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we could juxtapose this whole conversation on a few simple one-line statements. And
yeah,
then,
just do your best, and cut yourself some slack. You know, some people they make a mistake and then they get so hard on themselves, and it's like, you're human. Are you just like the top lama in Nepal? You know, and you just never make any mistakes. Like, gosh, you're human.
yeah, I think a lot of what you're talking about is being in a good flow state, giving yourself permission to be great, knowing that we all have this innate potential deep inside of us that once we start tapping into it, we want more of it, and that we might be gunked up a little bit and have a few nicks on us, but we can go into self repair mode. And by understanding the chiropractic lifestyle, which is, our ability to function at our highest potentials optimally. I think that so many people just, like I'll say it again, they don't know where to go or who to trust for their own messaging. And they get stuck in their own dogma that thinks it's about money, but really it's about function. And if you can restore somebody back to full function, people will sell the farm for that, man.
I feel you. And on that note, the way I look at it is, who's like the head person that filters down to the masses what is health. It's like the Surgeon General of the United States. And I think that we need to get not a Surgeon General, but a Chiropractic General in that position.
Amen.
Because like, we're the people, we're like the true ambassadors of health. You know, we're saying focus on minimizing the stresses, and not just focusing on, you got to start with the don't do this, don't do that, but then it's like, do this, do that, do this. And by the way, nerve pressure is not good. Make that one of the central pieces of your overall lifestyle. And now we're having a different conversation. So I'd like to see, we get in the highest position. Forget the Surgeon General. That means you've already screwed up. You're already in trouble. That's why you got to have surgery. So why don't we get somebody whose specialty is health, healing, wholeness, vibrancy, vitality, well-being, not sick beings, but well-being. And now we've got a different conversation.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Imaging Services, Chiro Thin, Universal Tractioning Systems, Chiro Moguls, Zingit Solutions, Dr. Pete Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Everest Coaching Systems, Rhino Coaching, 5-Star Management, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Health USA, Max, Mahalo Wellness, and Chiro Expert. Let's hustle.
Well, here's the label for you, bro, the Vitalistic General.
Oh man, I like that. There's better people better suited for that position, but I'll be a good soldier.
Well, you're too humble, man. But I I think when we were talking earlier, you're talking about like mobility and functionality, and I think that Chestnut hit it right on the head when he said, "Eat well, think well, move well." And I always tell
Yeah.
people that those are the basic tenets, and most people are desperately searching for how to eat, how to think, and how to move, and everybody's
Yes.
neglecting the adjustment. So if we just started with the adjustment first and then gave people access to knowing what to do for their mind and their body and their diets, we could really change the way that people actually focus on who they take advice from. And I think
I agree with you.
we have to think about the eat well, think well, move well revolution, but we have to start with the adjustment first. And I believe that chiropractors are the stewards of that information age to give people the old school principles of health. And I think that we've moved into a surgical standard, like you're saying, but we need to go into a adjustment standard, and then we need to then indoctrinate people with that languaging and that ideology of eating well, thinking well, moving well.
Yeah. Well, like what you just said, the adjustment comes first, and I couldn't agree with you. If we start out with a baby being born straight away, and let's just say the baby was born at home, in a water tub, candle lights, with Sade playing in the background, everybody's naked, so skin to skin contact as soon as the baby comes out, and then the kid's still subluxated. But now if you're in Australia, guess what doesn't happen? Now that kid can't get adjusted. So now we have bigger issues on our hand, and I completely agree with the model, but if we're not able to even check kids from birth, we've got an issue.
That's why we need to send Chiro Hustle over to Australia, because they can't take my licensing, and they can't punish me for speaking the truth to the public. They'd probably champion me and put me in presidency.
Yeah. Well, they may ban you, so maybe do some touring around the country first before you get banned, and then you're never allowed in the big old island.
Well, I think that that'd be a big win for chiropractic, honestly. And if that's what they would do as a small-minded government-issued ban of an individual that just wants people to be free of bondage and suffering, that's on their conscious watch.
Yeah, I feel you.
So where do you think the profession is going to be in the next 20 years, the way things are going right now?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. It comes down to obviously what's going on with the CCE. It comes down to what's going on at all of the different chiropractic colleges. And, we've become so fragmented into this like ACA, ICA conversation. Do we keep, there's polls coming out every single week. Should we keep subluxation? Should we keep our original language? Or should we alter it and change it? So, I think first and foremost, we've got scarier things going on with regards to like humanity, with regards to those mandatory vaccinations, if you will, which is pretty much the direction that they're heading, removing the philosophical objection, removing the religious exemption, and now making it even more difficult if somebody has a medical exemption to be independent of sticking poisons in their blood. So we've lost control of our blood. We've lost control of our body. We're losing control of our own minds, sovereignty of our own minds. So I'm concerned about that. Like, I think about that every single day, about 100 times a day. That's pretty much where all my posts are on social media are these days. But as far as like chiropractic goes, I'd like to see a stronger unified force with all of the chiropractic schools, because ultimately students go to those schools and they're drip fed whatever the school feeds them, and that ultimately that becomes their philosophy, unless they're radicals, unless they're rebels and they break away from the information that's being shoveled their way by the school. Big difference what's going on at Life West versus the SEU HS in Los Angeles. Big difference in terms of like the caliber of skill, and difference in terms of the way that they even communicate what chiropractic is. So we've got half the schools promoting traditional chiropractic, and then the other schools, I don't know what the heck they're promoting, just like a watered down mechanical procedure that has no life force, no soul, no love, no spirit. But I can understand the mechanistic component also. So 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, man, I'd like to see everybody just getting along, the ICA peeps understanding the ACA peeps, the ACA peeps respecting and understanding the ICA. The way I look at it, the mechanistic universe or the mechanistic aspect of a subluxation, it's already embedded within the vitalistic model. The vitalistic model is just huge. The mechanistic model is just smaller and reductionistic. But if you want to practice just a mechanical increasing range of motion, breaking up scar tissue, fibrotic adhesions, that's still part of the body. So why wouldn't I want to break up adhesions, increase range of motion? But then I also want to take the pressure off of the nerves. And now we're talking about a nervous system conversation, neuroscience, and then we're talking about energy, and now we're talking about vibrancy and frequency. So we can go all the way from the mechanistic to the frequency-based adjuster, and it doesn't sound too fragmented. It's all in the same. It's all the same. It's part of the same conversation. It's just one starts out more Newtonian, and then the other one goes more quantum. So I'd love to see more of a quantum-based approach in 10 years, maybe 20 years, where now the ICA and the ACA, we're all integrated, and we're still dealing with subluxation. Fine, you just want to increase global range of motion, rock and roll. But then you got the people over here that are adjusting to affect the neurology. Okay, fantastic. And then you've got the other people, kind of like the top of the pyramid, that are really focused on tapping into your potential as a human being. So I can give you the Pollyanna answer. I think chiropractic is going to be great. We're just a bunch of warriors, and we just got to put our head down, and it'll turn out great, just like it has, if kind of a little bit, for the last 100+ years. But then I can take that pessimistic view, and I say, man, if we don't rally and support our roots and support our tradition and look at chiropractic as this bigger discipline, as a bigger offering, then we're just going to get gobbled up. And it was a good run, and it'll just be a footnote in a book.
Dude, you hit it right on the head, and the nail right on the head with that big hammer of yours. And me thinking about what you just said kind of makes me juxtapose this into the hospital model. And the same way that you talked about the schools not getting the proper type of education when it comes to certainty, it's like going to the hospital and seeing like the Western diet that they feed to people inside of a sick care facility. And it's like the messaging that they're getting is basically nutrient deficient food that's just making them more sick. It's like telling chiropractic students what's happening right now, that they're supposed to go out there and not adjust and refer out to other healthcare providers. And, as I get more educated in the chiropractic model, I start realizing that the chiropractic schools are kind of like hospitals, and they're not giving their students nutrient-dense food, and they're coming out with deficiencies when it comes to running businesses. They're coming out with deficiencies when it comes to succeeding and being able to pay back that student loan debt that's tied to their ankles like a shackle. And it's, we're producing people that are on the fringe when they come out, and they're not in the flow. And they're, they're fragmented with their belief systems. They're fragmented with their ability to deliver the goods. and they're really fragmented when it comes to building unity. And I think that what we need to do is we need to take the power back when it comes to the education resources that are provided, and we need to make a better education model to where the kids are coming out and they're all on fire just like you and I are today. And
they're just confused. They're just confused.
But it's on our watch, dude.
True.
And, that's what we have to do is we have to realize that all these dumb things that we don't agree with, it's all happening on our watch. And if we have any bit of a revolution inside of us and any bit of a pulse to our blood, then we need to start saying, hey, not on my watch.
I think about that all the time. And when I get up and I train first thing in the morning, I think of myself, if you were the last person, the last chiropractor alive, would the profession carry on, or would you just kind of like wave goodbye to it? So that's like one of those things that I think about often. So not on my watch.
Yeah, and hopefully the words I share with you today resonate with you and ring true. And the people that are listening to this episode say, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Jeremy. I'm going to reach out to Jim. And I'm going to reach out to 10 other of my people. And we're going to start talking and seeing how we can right this ship from wrecking. And we can save this airplane from crashing. And we can save this profession from sinking. And I think that if we think about it in those tenets, hey, man, we have full control of the cockpit right now. And every time that one of our soldiers goes out there, one of these chiropractic students, after 3 years, 1 and 2 fail, that's like losing a soldier on the battlefield, man.
That's rough. That's a rough stat.
Yeah, think about that. Everybody listening out there, think about that. Why don't we come together and support a little bit? And to, I was just doing an interview with this kid from Life College earlier before we jumped on with you. And I said, hey, this is my advice to you. If you really want to build organically, go find a chiropractor and take them out to lunch once a week. Go find somebody in your community and take them out to lunch once a month. Start having conversations knee to knee with each other and finding out who you are and start discovering each other. That's how it happens.
Love it. Great advice.
Hey, man, I have my finger on the pulse of this profession. And Luke and I are at the helm of information. We are the megaphones. There's a reason why people are flocking in numbers to listen to what we produce, because you're getting it firsthand right now. We are delivering fire, man. And
well said.
I think a lot of people are stuck in the dark ages of communication inside the ranks, and they need to start tapping each other on the shoulder and say, hey, what's up? High five me. I'm here too. And they need to get spizzed, like Billy D will say.
What a dude. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more.
So, what are some of your personal hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? Are you in the middle of any good books right now?
Yeah. We just got really intense for a moment. Now we're talking about books. That's a good drop.
I know.
I was about to start punching walls or something like that. And then,
I'm trying to transition out of that.
We got Luke on the flow state with us.
Yeah. I'm reading a great book right now. I'm actually in a book club with some friends. I had never done a book club, but we're reading Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature. And that book is absolutely fantastic. I normally have like a couple different books running at the same time. Some of the books recently that Simon Senzon has pumped out, like The Chiropractor's Protege or Chiropractic Thoughts, kind of like some of those reprinted books. What else am I always have like a chiropractic, textbook, not the chiropractic textbook. That's at the office, but I got the upper cervical subluxation complex review of chiropractic and medical literature book by Erickson, I believe. That one's close by. And then if I want to just kind of like get out of like maybe get into some relaxed, fun reading, I'll read books by Zecharia Sitchin, who's kind of like come up with some alternate explanation into the origin of mankind. So I've gone down like if you're a chiropractor, you're interested in studying life and health and healing and wholeness, but like life. And then if you go back to the oldest known civilization, you got to go to the Sumerians. And then if you start studying the Sumerians, then you get into some really weird alternative history, origin stories, if you will. So I like kind of like unplugging and get into those type of books. The 12th Planet would be a good one. But yeah, I'm always kind of like dipping into something. Could be like the Yoga Sutras, the Naked Ape. That one's in my bathroom. Might be TMI, but that. So yeah, and then of course like a Dave Asprey book or stuff to biohack. I think chiropractic's one of the ultimate biohacking disciplines out there. So everybody can talk about boosting up their mitochondria. You can take all the supplements you want, drink all that buttered coffee you want, but you better make sure that you're free of interference. So yeah, I'd say kind of like we'll go from anatomy, occult anatomy, sacred anatomy, dissectional anatomy books to nutrition, super nutrition, and then get into maybe some metaphysical books. I love reading books on, I got the Zohar complete set, so if I want to drop in and go into some deeper levels of understanding what this whole journey called life is all about, I'll dive into those books.
So what are some of your websites or online resources people could go look up if they wanted to learn more about you?
I'd say spinechecker.com is the ultimate hub. You can get into Spine Checker University, which has the online program, like the Wise Progressions. You can check out the book there too, the Spine Checkers Manifesto. You have access to the MLS Adjusting Seminars schedule that I was blessed to asked to teach by Dr. Arno Burnier. So I teach in California. Got a seminar in Honolulu coming up in a couple months. And so I'd say spinechecker.com is the ultimate spot. You can find me on Instagram as spinechecker if you want to check out what we're putting out at the Life Center Chiropractic. You can find us on Facebook at the Life Center Chiropractic.
So we're just about at the end of our interview for the day. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't ask you?
Man, I think we kind of like covered a nice landscape. We talked about the state of chiropractic, covered yoga, got to move, got to eat, breathe, think, love, connect, got to get adjusted. Students, you have to pick the brain of chiropractors who are out there doing the work. Yeah, and just, know yourself. Ultimately, this is called Chiro Hustle. This is a great source for people who want to enhance their business, kind of have this entrepreneurial attitude. And I think one of the best, everybody's looking to market and brand and do all that stuff. Just kick ass at what you do so that when you walk into a room and somebody sees you, they're like, dang, what do you do? And you're like, I'm an accountant. They're like, you're my new accountant. And if you're a chiropractor, they go, I need to see you. They may not have anything going on, but they know they need to see you. And if they do have something going on, now you're doing business with them. So just kick ass.
Well, brother,
try to live an extraordinary life, and there you go.
I didn't realize how much I liked you until I knew how much I loved you. And I really appreciate you making some time in your day today to share with our audience your wisdom and your passion and your internal motivators and what makes you unique and special in this chiropractic space.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem. This has been a really fun episode, and now Jim and I just want you to enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Jeremy, have a good day, man.
You too, gentlemen. Peace out.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.